Welcome to the genre question. What's the question? Historically, each era in Western music had an overarching musical genre. There were rules, and everyone followed them, until a rebel came along and changed things. But his music, or her music, mostly him unfortunately in the past, would be based on the music of the previous era. And so on it went. Classical music, romantic music, you get the gist. Then in the early 40s, 50s, 60s we started country, rock and roll, things changed. But the labels were still running things, and so musicians were largely told what they could create until they inevitably went out on their own and found their own sound. What we have now is a bunch of creatives who can create anything, and that's what we want to do. But in the early days of your career, you need to be marketable. You need to find a sound that people can identify. You get the question, what kind of music do you play? And is not a great answer. Neither is, well, it's kind of a blend of this and fusion with that, and listing a bunch of genres and then saying it's a blend of those, because people don't know what you mean and don't know if they're going to like it or not. And they tend to just go, okay, and you never hear from them again. In my quest to define my own genre, I've discovered that I don't know as much about modern musical genres as I should. You see, all my training was in classical music, but that isn't where I work now. I've really struggled to pin down what my own genre is and where I fit in this huge spectrum of modern contemporary music. So I had an idea. There are lots of musicians in the forums and courses I'm taking who are in a similar place to me. They found their sound, but they don't know how to define it or what genre or subgenre it fits into. Equally, there are loads of musicians in those forums who have found their place. They've done the seemingly impossible. They fit into an easily recognizable genre, or they have created one themselves. And so I have decided, I've had a fun idea, I'm going to interview those people. We're going to start with the people who have...
Hi, it's Marina from the future. It was December 2020, and I drove up to Bendigo to see Bill Barber, because he really is just a font of knowledge when it comes to this particular question, the genre question. He's been singing blues since he was, I think, 12, something like that, really, 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 really young. He won a big competition with the Melbourne Blues Association and was shipped off to Memphis, and he's been hustling ever since. He's someone I really love a lot. He has an incredible amount of talent and beautiful openness and willing to share what he knows. So in a moment, this big red-headed thing, which doesn't even exist anymore, is going to shut up, and we'll hear some music from Bill, and then the interview we taped, the 24th of December, the day before Christmas, mid-lockdowns in Melbourne or Bendigo.
I've got a bunch of musicians who have been open and honest and generous enough to share their time with me, lined up to do these interviews with me, and I'll be uploading every Sunday for the first foreseeable
future. The big lineup all pulled out.
So I'll be uploading every Sunday.
That's why I kind of got cold feet on this whole thing for a while. But I'm out traveling and touring again now, so I'm going to be meeting awesome musicians who will not be unreliable.
Hopefully not indefinitely. Hopefully we'll get to the end of this and we'll have an answer to the question, what the fuck is my genre?
I had a song when I was down there, and then I forgot it while John was talking. And then I remembered what it was again when I got up here, and then I also forgot it again as soon as I was about to start playing. So I'm going to do this one instead. this morning, something going on wrong. I am possession, Lord, over Judgment Day. If I am possession, Lord, over Judgment Day. That woman I love ain't gonna have no right to pray. The river was whiskey low, now it's diving up. I'm dive up on the bottom, now ain't never coming up. I remembered it. Well, I got rambling, rambling on my mind. I got rambling, rambling on my mind. Well, the hell leave you here, babe? Treat me so kind. I got me things on my mind. I got me things on my mind. Well, hell, leave me here, babe. Treat me so kind. Yes, that fastest train I see. so-and-so, she sung out the blues about me. I can't rambling on my mind. I got rambling on my mind. Well, the hell did you hear, babe? Well, the hell did you hear, babe? Well, the hell did you hear, babe? You treat me so unkind.
So I can see that's the problem, is you can only choose one. So that makes it the difficult question. So I really should say blues. I know I should say blues, but I'm gonna go with country, because you said, like, what's the thing that makes you sing along? What makes what makes you really listen? And I'm gonna have to say country on that one, because it's the only really thing left apart from pop that's still verse chorus, and the thing that properly tells a story.
Absolutely.
And there's still serious musicianship in that as well. So I think it's kind of the it's kind of the amalgamation of everything. As much as it's cool to hate country, I think I think that's probably the one that I'm going to go with. Like I'll go with,
It's cool to love whatever you love.
yeah, like I'll go with Chris Stapleton on a drive instead of B.B. King.
So when you're sitting in the car.
Yeah, which is probably sacrilegious to say, but I think
There are sacrilegious answers. This is all about the truth of what lives you as a
I
musician.
gotta live my truth. And this is
Just want to like cringe, like, and
Yeah, I don't think I have one of them. Nah, I don't think so. I'll sit there and listen and appreciate musicianship with everything. Even Kylie Minogue's bloody incredible.
wow, something we just hit. Something we just
Yeah. Well, if she's good enough for Nick Cave, then she's good enough for me.
Fair enough. It's
Yeah,
still,
but I think the thing that I will get sick of listening to the quickest is probably metal, just because it's so intense to listen to. Yeah, and there's that, and I can't really understand the lyrics. If I could I think there's got to be a level of, I think being able to understand metal lyrics is an acquired thing. You got to really learn how to understand that kind of diction, which is, it's a shame because they're beautiful lyrics most of the time.
That's true, isn't it? Yeah. Good. Okay. The next one. Getting on to the genre questions now and how you found your genre.
Right, difficult stuff.
Your earliest memory of being moved by music. What was that and where did it happen?
It's my earliest memory of it is different to the time where I knew it happened because my old man told me. So as a little kid, apparently I refused to go to sleep unless I had Chris Wilson live at the Continental live at the Continental. I was going to say in my opinion, but nah, it's just the greatest Australian album that's ever been recorded. Big call, but also big man, big songwriter.
What's his genre?
So I guess he's kind of, he's another guy that was really tough to pin down. Probably the best harmonica player that Australia has ever had, and one of the best vocalists. So both of those things go together with blues, which he played like a demon. But I really enjoyed his country stuff. He had a band called The Crown of Thorns, and that was probably some of my favourite music that I've ever heard. So, yeah.
I have
Yeah.
no idea.
Yeah, there's a lot of people especially when they don't listen to blues or they don't go out and see blues. They see harmonica as like this novelty instrument.
Exactly. It's like a thing you give to...
Absolutely not, and it's my favourite woodwind instrument. It's technically a woodwind, isn't it? Wood cone, reeds. But yeah, well, it does have reeds. It's got 10 reeds. So I think it's probably woodwind. But I think any instrument that's incredibly vocal, that's trying to mimic a voice, I will sit there and listen to it all day. Played well. It's like beginner's harmonica is kind of like beginner's violin.
That's like recorder.
Yeah, I will sit there for hours and hours and listen to a beautiful harmonica player or a beautiful violinist. But hearing somebody that's been learning it for 2 weeks, yeah,
like watching. Okay. Number two. So, what music? Music did...
I grew up with blues, and
where did that...
So as a little kid, all my old man and my mum listened to was blues.
Right, so that's what we...
That's the only music that I knew existed up until I was about 6 or 7 years old. And I thought that was music. That's all that people did. B.B. King was, the biggest pop star there was, Yeah, exactly. Which still kind of is. But I got, when I got to school and I found, all these other kids were listening to, pop music. I was like Nicky Webster and Backstreet Boys and all that kind of stuff at the time. I almost took this sense of pride in not being that guy, Like I definitely wasn't one of the popular kids because of that. I thought I was going to be the most popular kid in school because I could get to school and play all these, Robert Johnson songs note for note.
By what age could you play blues consistently and clearly and prolifically? Really?
Prolifically.
Well, no, let's not go so. So, what age could you sit down and play and impress people?
I'm not sure I impress people now.
You do.
This is yeah, I'd say probably about 9 or 10.
Yeah, because it came really early to you. So
yeah.
Can I jump in and tell us about?
Yep. So I started playing guitar around 5 years old, and I took to it pretty quick. I was pretty natural at it, and I started listening to the stuff that Dad was playing, and I managed to pick up on some stuff pretty quick. And what he used to do was he'd give me 3 CDs, and he'd go, "Okay, if you can learn 2 songs off each of these CDs, I'll give you 3 more CDs." And then, so I burned through his CD collection pretty quickly. I didn't learn the whole songs and all that kind of stuff. I just learned what I wanted to learn off of those CDs. I burned through his CD collection pretty quickly, and then he had to bring out his cassette tapes. And then I burned through his cassette tapes. And so my library of blues in my head, and that, because my old man was he's an obsessive music collector. He's never played a note in his life. He's just obsessively collects old blues. And so I had access to this incredible library of blues music. Before YouTube was really a big thing or anything like that, I had all of that obscure stuff, So I'd just be flicking through all these cassette cases and that kind of thing. So, a lot of my blues standards at the start, a lot of people when they first start playing blues, it's, they play Robert Johnson, they play B.B. King, they play Buddy Guy, all that kind of stuff, which I had that as well, but, I had obscure blues stuff as well. I was playing a lot of Lonnie Johnson, and, he was probably my favourite Delta guy, was Lonnie Johnson, and I was playing a lot of Skip James, and a lot of that, like Depression era, darker stuff. I really connected to that for some reason.
At what age was?
So I was around 13. I was around 13 or 14 at the time that I really started getting obsessive about it.
So blues? Would you say blues almost wasn't a choice?
Not really. It's kind of what happened.
Yeah.
You know. And
You were surrounded by and
I have quite a lot of difficulty understanding metaphors and euphemisms and things like that, especially as a kid. I don't know what that says about me, but I was always like, I needed to have things laid out for me. I needed to have people be very direct, and that's what blues was. There was no metaphors. There was no reading between the lines. There was no, this song sounds like this, but it's actually about this.
that's
There was a bloke with a guitar saying, "This is how I feel. This person's done this to me." Yeah. Then I'm going to play a guitar solo, and then that's the end of the song. Or I'm going to play a piano solo, and that's the end of the song. So I connected with that straight up because I knew exactly what they meant. They were pretty much the only people in my life that I knew exactly what they meant all the time.
So it was
I had trouble connecting emotionally and intellectually because of, not understanding these things. So having somebody sit on a record and tell me exactly how it is in their life, I felt very connected to that.
great answer.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Blues.
Great answer.
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously the answer to what music did you love as a teenager was blues. So for those who don't know, Bill, tell them what age you were when you started playing professionally.
I had my first paid gig when I was 9. I think there was probably about an 18-month break between my first paid gig and my second paid gig. But I count it from there. I'd started gigging a couple of times a week by the time I was 13, 14. And from there, by 16, 17, I was touring.
And there was something in there that...
So when I was 15, I won the Melbourne Youth in Blues competition. And I was playing gigs in Melbourne and at festivals and things from there. And I kept going, and then at 19 or 20, I can't remember. I was either 19 or 20. I won the Victorian Blues Performer of the Year award. Then I got sent to Memphis.
And that's what that...
Yeah, you get sent to Memphis, and then you get entered into the International Blues Challenge, which is, I think, like 300 acts or something from all over the world descend on Memphis, and it's a music competition basically.
How did you fare at that age?
So I made the semi-finals, which was, I think there was 24 of us that made the semi-finals. And then the bloke that won the entire competition was the one that knocked me out of the semi-final. So I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah. And you were...
I was 20. Yeah. So, yeah.
Just after I met you.
Probably, yeah.
What year was that?
It's 2017.
Was the year I met you?
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. I know this is a bit of a wobbly one for you. Alan,
What is my genre? Okay.
So let's start with what was
It's a
your
big
genre.
question.
Well, so obviously we've just discussed your genre has been for a long time.
My genre has been blues for a very long time.
10 years?
Yeah, 10 years or so. I was playing blues. And, Yep. So, but around, I guess, 3 years or so ago, I started listening to a lot of country, and I started listening to a lot of folk, and there was, it was around the time that a lot of stuff was happening personally in my life as well, and I realized that I had something to say, and blues is a very freeing thing musically. You can pretty much express yourself any way you want musically. With a guitar in my hand, I can do whatever I want. Lyrically, though, for the same reason that I loved it as a kid, it's quite restrictive. you have to convey one or two emotions, and that's it. You know, you can't really tackle complicated situations in a blues song. You know, and I was going through a lot of complicated situations and kind of realized that I had a bit more to say than, you know, singing one line and then repeating another line and then
So
finishing it up.
The music.
Pretty much, yeah. You know, well, there's plenty of contemporary blues guys that, you know, their songs aren't traditional 12 bars and all that kind of thing. But
call that like
yeah, I guess contemporary blues.
contemporary blues.
But mine wasn't that. It was pretty well just straight up blues. You know? So it was kind of, yeah, having that realization that I had more to say and I needed to figure out how to say that in my music. And the closest thing that I could think of was playing country songs. So that's what happened. I started writing country songs as a blues guitar player, and I guess my voice is probably closer to soul than anything. So I guess that's where I'm at the moment with my solo stuff is country lyrics, blues guitar, soul vocals, you know, whatever the middle of that is.
How much does
I think it's depending on how versatile of a vocalist you are. Because my vocal style is quite unique, and it's I guess that's kind of being restricted by certain things makes you have to be more creative about how you go about stuff. And and I had to figure out how to use this voice that had excuse me. I had to figure out how to use this voice that had been trained and conditioned to do one thing, which is sing blues songs. Yeah, and from an early age, I had to figure out how to get that thing to sing melodies and, you know, get it to sing harmonies and all of that kind of thing. So, yeah, it affected it a whole lot, you know. So most of the songs that I write are, you know, they're blues and soul melodies with country lyrics, because that's what I've been so conditioned to do. Like the band, on the other hand, so I have probably about 40% of the time I work with my band. So that's the Revelators. Yeah. So we've been going for about 5 years, Revelators. Yeah. But we've evolved an insane amount. So when we started, we were a Chicago blues band. That's what I got. That's what we were playing. You know? And then the boys in the band started branching out. They really wanted to play funk. They wanted to play soul. And
tell me about funk.
Neither do I, really.
I think a word that we hear a lot, but it's like funk. Like an artist.
Well, yeah, you've got, you know, Bootsy Collins and James Brown. Even though he's the godfather of soul, 70s James Brown is total funk. You know, taking one chord for 10 minutes and you're never getting tired of it. I think that's probably the best way I can describe it. A lot of people can describe it better than I can, because I'm not a funk musician.
No, but you've mentioned it to me a couple of times, and I'm like,
yeah. So I don't have much of an idea either, but I know that the guys in my band prefer to play that than to play my stuff. So that's what they do when they're not playing with me. So,
you've been
at the moment, and so there's just more gigs in cafes, you know, and Sunday sessions, and there are, you know, with a band and everybody's standing up and raising hell, you know, and you know that's not quite safe yet either, you know, having that stand up venue. So
we're just for a minute, we're sitting at
1.5
COVID safe distance. Yeah. So then, oh no, I've lost my train of thought. That was silly. So 10 years blues, and fairly recently you brought in that change with writing stuff that's in a more expressive style that you refer to as country with a blues
Yeah.
undertone.
I think that's in essence my solo stuff. The band stuff has always evolved, and I've always tried different things.
Yeah,
And that's the thing that's been very hard to pin down, because I'm playing with other guys that are interested in very different kinds of music than I am. Basically, I've taken 2 funk musicians who also listen to a lot of metal, made them play blues for a long time, and then given them some, not given them, but started listening to them creatively.
Yeah, just opening it up.
So basically, and then I've added another guitar player who is the same thing. He's a funk guitar player who listens to a lot of hard rock and metal. So what's happened now is you take a Chicago blues band who actually wants to play funk, who listens to a lot of Rage Against the Machine, and put all of that together, and you've kind of got the Revelators.
Which now sounds, from what you've played me, very rock.
Yeah, it's pretty much rock and roll. It's the closest thing a blues band can get to a metal band. It's big, heavy riffs. It's a lot of yelling. Like, I'm very tired after the gig. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So there's a lot of halftime breaks, and everybody's got octave pedals and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so that's kind of my release if I want to get louder.
Just to the non-musicians watching, tell us what an octave pedal is.
So an octave pedal is, so you take a regular guitar and you hit this pedal, and it'll play a bass frequency underneath your guitar.
It down.
Yeah, it takes it. Well, it can take it up as well, but we're just going down.
You're just going down.
Yeah. So.
And how does that help you vocally?
Probably not.
Or does it?
Yeah, it's probably counterproductive
But
to the vocals.
It changes the sound.
But it fills everything out. It makes everything really fat, and it sounds.
More of a bass for your voice.
Yeah, and it makes us, it makes us sound like there's more people on stage than there really are.
Well, thank you for explaining that. So not everybody watching is a musician and works with guitars and pedals specifically.
Yeah.
Can be like, what? A lot of musicians can feel like that because not everybody plays electric.
Yeah.
If you don't play electric guitar, effect pedals
Well, yeah, exactly.
What now? Okay, so we've sort of, your genre then has evolved, but currently you'd say you're working within a few.
Working within a few.
Yeah, which is a great way to be. Alright, so does the way you sing or play impact the definition of your genre? Equally, is it... What is it? Okay. Does the way you sing or play impact the definition of your genre equally, or is it more important, that is, could say Billie Eilish, someone with a light pop singing voice, come in and sing your music and have it still be recognisably the same genre?
Depends which. I'd say if we're using Billie Eilish as an example, she could probably come in and sing my songs and probably make them a lot catchier than they are. Just because she's got probably a bit more of a palatable voice. But it's.
Pardon yourself.
But it's. Yeah, I think my songs would still be recognisably my songs.
Yeah.
If somebody else came in and sang them.
Okay. Is that the lyrics or the band?
The lyric and the melodies, like I have
Yeah.
a very similar undertone in most of my songs. And so if somebody was covering one of my songs and they were familiar with my, and the audience was familiar with my music, they would know that it was one of my songs. I'd hope so. I'd hope I'd have that much of a signature on my songs, but I'm not really sure.
Well,
to be honest.
Never are,
Yeah.
Really. It's a tricky question. And likewise, a different guitar player, pick anyone you can think of, play his style of guitar and nothing else changes, just the guitar, would we still get the same sense of clarity in your style?
So this was a tough one that I had to think about because I actually got in a new guitar player this year for my band. And it's changed the way the band sounds drastically.
Right. For the better?
Yeah, absolutely. We're a lot heavier than we were.
I suppose you can't only say for the worst because they might be
Yeah.
listening.
We're a lot heavier than we were just because he's a heavy guitar player. He plays a baritone guitar, and you know, the fact that I can drop my hands and just sing and not have to play too much.
Right.
You know, I can just play solos if I want to.
Right.
So there's, you know, strangely, it fills it out more, but there's also much more room to move. There's much more space to be able to play with that. So I think, but I guess that's not really a question. It's like, if you swapped me out with another guitar player, would it sound the same?
Yeah.
No, I don't think if you swapped anyone out with anyone, it would ever sound any remotely similar.
I think it depends on the skill of the guitarist. I think guitar for you is so intrinsic. It's so, like, you're playing and you're so skilled with the guitar that, and you know what you want to play. This is my interpretation. You know what sound you want to go with what.
Skills
no one else is going to know that in there.
Skill's a subjective thing though, because they, like, another guitar player has their own set of sounds in their head that they want to come out of their guitar. Whether they can make those sounds or not, it doesn't matter. But they're going to want to take the things in the direction they're hearing.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm always going to want to take things in the direction of the sound in my head, and other people are always going to want to take it in the direction that's in their head.
Yeah.
Which is why it's so difficult playing with a band with three other people, because they all have three other sounds in their head that they're hearing.
It can't really be a democracy.
Not really.
Someone's got to go, no, we're not doing three different sounds, we're going to pull that together into...
It can be, but I think it's quite rare.
Yeah.
Even in, you know, democratic bands that have been going for 20 years or so, there's still usually one, you know, main leader, or there's one guy that writes most of the songs.
Yeah.
And things like that, and they, you know, then they all come in. But, you know, I guess I was kind of, the way that I fell into my band is I just got a bunch of gigs that I needed a band for. You know, okay, well, I know this drummer and I know this bass player. So, well, actually, I was in a duo first. It was just me and my drummer, and, you know, I needed to be able to get louder. Then I realised that, you know, I was very restricted when I was just playing guitar and there was drums there, and I had to, you know, hit a bunch of pedals to be able to make it sound full and that kind of thing. So I got a bass player in, and, you know, then I had two people with two different sounds in their head, and now I've got this new guitar player that's got another sound in his head. So, you know, even though it's still me, it's me writing the songs and me leading the band, it's them putting their stamp on my stuff. You know, so
So in your band, it's not called like the Bill Barber band.
No, it's Bill Barber and the Revelators.
So it is Bill Barber and the Revelators.
Yeah.
So they're your, can you say backing band?
I'd say so. It's become, like, it started as that, but it's become a fair bit more than that. You know, it's become
more democratic perhaps? Or?
Yeah, like, I think it's, you know, you can't play with musicians as good as I play with. I'm very lucky to have, you know, the level of musicianship that I have playing with me, and not want to take their opinions and their creativeness into account all the time. It's a waste of their talent.
Absolutely.
You know, but being able to veto things is important if it's your own project.
There's a time factor as well.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but yeah, being able to have the final say on things, and, you know, trying to.
At the end of the day, you wrote the song.
Exactly, and it's, you know, but that's also difficult, is trying to be as decisive as possible when there's all these different ideas coming in, and you want to incorporate them all somehow, but you know two aren't going to work, you know, or this one's not going to work with this one, or, you know, these two can work, but this one needs to be dropped, and all that kind of thing. You need to call some shots on that, you know, and sometimes you make the wrong ones, and you come back and you go back to the drawing board, and that's just how it is. But, you know, at the end of the day, if it's your project, you need to know exactly what's going on all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. But when you take gigs yourself, you still do...
Yeah, it's still probably half blues.
Yeah, and how much of the country would you, like in an ideal world, if you could play as you wanted to, how would you be chopping it up? Like, how much country would you be singing?
I never really thought about that.
I never really thought about that.
At the moment,
I want to be playing as much lyrically driven stuff as possible, whether that be country or whatever it is. It's usually country just because country's about the lyrics.
Lends itself to
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
But at the moment, lyrics are very important to me, so I want that to be at the forefront. And that wasn't the case for a very long time. I was always just a guitar player, That's
With
all I wanted.
amazing voice.
That's all I wanted to do was play blues guitar, and I realized I had to learn how to sing at some point if people were going to come and see me play guitar, because nobody's going to sit through 3 hours of instrumental. That's a generalized statement, but most of the time,
To me, like to appeal to the most people.
yeah. You have to sing songs.
Yeah.
So it was really just a vehicle for my guitar playing. And then I realized that, okay, I've got something to say now. I need to get myself across lyrically. I can't say everything I need to say just by playing guitar. So everything that I did early on was so that I could play guitar.
Yeah.
Getting a band,
Because
learning
you
how to
love
sing.
playing guitar?
I loved playing guitar. That's all I wanted to do. All my heroes were mainly guitar players. But these days, I listen to songs and I listen to songwriters and writers and just people who write beautiful words in general. That's where I want to be at the moment. That might change later on, but that's where I'm at the moment. I just want to write the best words I can.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes as a musician. You get pigeonholed.
Yeah,
Particularly
absolutely.
when you've got an agent and they're booking you for gigs. And
It's a natural thing, though.
no,
like-
it's not necessarily forced.
Yeah, music fans, they need to be able to clarify you.
This is why we're doing this podcast.
Exactly.
This is the whole thing.
Yeah, they need to be able to clarify you. Unless you're really famous and incredibly unique, you kind of need to fit at least one or two of the molds.
Yeah, which is why it's interesting that you're kind of crossing over several at the moment.
Yeah, but the ones
Some of them may be a passion
the ones I am
projects
the ones I am crossing over are pretty closely related to each other.
Yeah. Okay.
There's blues and country are pretty closely related. Blues and soul are even closer related.
Yeah.
But you need to fit at least a couple of boxes, if not one.
Yeah.
And unless you're Tom Waits, because like Tom Waits is Tom Waits.
Yeah.
But that's the only guy I can think of that
Yeah.
can't be put in a box and everybody just goes, okay,
That's fine.
he's just
Do
that
your
guy.
thing, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I love. Tom Waits is probably my favorite musician, and because of that,
Yeah. So if you had to put yourself into one box, then, for promotional reasons, they needed to say Bill Barber is
for promotional reasons, it's still blues.
still blues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love playing blues gigs. I love playing blues festivals, blues communities.
And it must just come naturally.
The blues community are just gorgeous people, and it was a lovely scene to grow up in as well.
You were kind of raised.
Yeah,
cherished in that,
it takes a village, and my village was the Melbourne blues scene.
Yeah, is that the Melbourne Blues Association in Flemington?
So you got your Melbourne Blues Appreciation Society. You've got
Yeah,
it's like
MBAS.
I think we have like 7 or 8 other blues clubs in Victoria. Victoria is a big place for blues music.
Well, here in Bendigo, Bill lives in Bendigo.
I live in Bendigo.
Fan of Bendigo.
Bendigonian.
So why would you live anywhere else? True.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah. And here, Bendigo is famous for its Blues and Roots Festival.
Oh, absolutely. I moved here because Bendigo was a blues town.
Right.
And, because I love Melbourne to visit. I don't think I could live there. I'm a little bit too quiet.
It is a busy place.
I get overwhelmed pretty easily. But, the melting pot that's happening there it's incredible. There's no other place in the Southern Hemisphere that's doing all of this stuff.
That Melbourne has more music venues per capita than anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
Which I was just like, what? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that. Like, I wouldn't have to research that. I believe you.
Yeah.
But yeah, the blues community, just in Victoria in general, is very tight knit. You know, it's not really small. It's not huge, but it's it's really tight knit, and there's. And they're really welcoming of people trying new things and trying to progress stuff and things like that. With
as long as you've paid your dues. I
Yeah.
learned this with the Blues Appreciation Society.
As
you
long
have
as
to
you
sing the standards first.
Yeah.
And then
as long as you know and understand the music and you appreciate the music.
Yeah.
You can't spend a year playing blues and then go, okay, I'm gonna make this contemporary blues album.
Yeah.
You can't do that with any kind of music. It's just never going to
No,
work.
you gotta build. Yeah.
Like I can't go and study jazz for 6 months and then go, I'm going to make a jazz album.
No, but sometimes something does just come to you. It does just
It does.
happen.
Yeah, it does. But
And it's not about trying to please anybody else. It's just what comes out of you.
Yeah.
And that's that whole sensitive self-expression thing that you're.
Yeah, well, I guess I need to rephrase that. Like you can do that, but I think it'd be presumptuous to expect to have that received well.
Yeah.
Because these are tradition-based kinds of music.
Within blues, I think specifically.
With blues and jazz and
jazz too. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
traditional country and like bluegrass is a big one for that as well. You need to know where this stuff came from. If
you're going to jump into it, you
absolutely.
need to jump into it with some knowledge.
You need to be a bit of a historian.
Right.
You need to understand and appreciate where this stuff came from.
Drill down into it.
Yeah, and especially with blues, because blues came out of some horrible history.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's I think most people who know blues know that it came from slavery and oppression of African American people. And especially for me as a white person, if a white person playing blues music, I need to understand and appreciate
The respect.
and respect how hard it was for these people to have this music come out. There needs to be as much understanding as possible. I'm never going to 100% understand because I've never experienced it.
I guess it's having to finally have had the freedom to express the pain that they've been through.
Yeah,
Because they
absolutely.
wouldn't have been allowed for a long time
Yeah.
during slavery to actually sing songs about what was happening.
Yeah, well, I can't make assumptions about any of that stuff either. But
No, I should
You know,
apologise for the assumption I just made.
but it's having as much understanding and as much appreciation as possible.
Yeah.
Before you even attempt to make this your main thing.
Yeah.
Like my old man drummed that into me from very early on. This is serious music. This is
There's a serious
this came from excuse me. This came from a very integral, very awful part of history, and that needs to be understood and appreciated. Right? And so I knew that from quite early on. This is if I was going to play blues music, I could not take it lightly. And having that understanding of it, I feel quite privileged to have been able to play blues music because I'm a white kid from Australia.
Yeah. But you were ensconced in it, entrenched
absolutely,
from
yeah.
such an early age.
Yeah.
That
It's
you sort of paid your dues without even realising you were paying them.
it's all I thought existed.
Yeah, that's right.
And so these, I guess with a lot of people, the blues community cops a lot of flack for, being traditionalists a lot of the time. There are a lot of traditionalists, but it's not that. It's just, and they're not gatekeepers either. It's just they're making sure, they're very passionate about it. They're very passionate about making sure the people that they're listening to, that's playing the music, understands and knows where this came from.
That's really good for me. It's really good information for me. I'm interested to learn that. I think there'll be a lot of people out there too, because we throw terms around all the time: blues, rock, this, that, and the other. And something like blues that has that deep, dark history that deserves our respect and should be understood. I think that's a really important point.
Yeah, and the fact that it's where it's where most modern music came from as well, was blues music. All 60s rock and roll, and then as a result, all 70s and all 80s and all 90s rock. All the things that stemmed, it basically happened from a bunch of British people falling in love with blues music, and then not being able to be heard in the club, so they turned up a little. That's what early rock was.
Right. And then, music just evolves. It just does. We've seen that throughout eon after eon now. Music evolves.
Yeah.
And it always is. I mean, I think sometimes people feel like, especially with something like really contemporary new age jazz, it's like, what are they doing? What is the sound they're going for? But it's almost like we've got to a point where there is nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I feel that that's true.
I don't think there's ever been anything new.
Okay.
Like there's people who just add on.
Yeah, we all add because it's a very personal thing when you write songs.
Yeah.
So that's what we add. We add our voice to our ideas and our passion.
There's people who just add on. If you're in a rock band, or if you're in a metal band, you're playing at least 25% blues.
Oh, okay.
Because that's where it came from. Yeah, it's the core of it. None of that would have existed without blues. So, whether you know it or not, you have a basis in blues.
There you go. Would you say that's true of folk music too?
I think
the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm thinking there is a connection there.
There is a connection, but I think folk music's similar, but in other kinds of music. So, if you're playing modern folk, you got to understand that, like, because I don't know a huge amount about folk music, but Celtic people in the 1800s, and then you've got gypsy folk, and then you've got Balkan folk. Folk music is the way I understand it anyway, it's just shorthand for traditional music from wherever country you are. So if you're playing a specific type of folk music from a specific country, or if you're playing modern folk music and you live in a specific country, probably pay to know where folk music came from where you are.
That's a really good point.
So if you're an Australian playing folk music, you've probably got an understanding of Irish folk music and Scottish folk music, and then early Australian folk music, which is also pretty much Irish folk music. So
I think it's fascinating that I think your blues background has given you a really broad appreciation of understanding where things have stemmed from. I don't know that all musicians feel that and have that.
Yeah,
just have that knowledge and that respect.
Following that back is incredibly important, and it's going to make you a better musician.
I was just thinking, the more you learn and understand, the more you can express.
Yeah, exactly. It's like like breaking down. When if you're learning a song, right? What do you think is better for you as a musician? Just learning the song, or learning all the techniques in that song and learning how to do all of them separately?
Which is better for your mental health, or which is better for you as a musician?
Yeah, exactly. But
but you're right. As a musician, the more you can learn from anything, the more you're going to grow.
Absolutely.
And then the more you can do out on your own in whatever style.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, we've been going for a while. I've learned. I knew I would learn a lot from this. It's been great. I hope everyone has enjoyed hearing Bill talk about his wealth of knowledge. It's just overwhelming. So thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks very much for having me.
No,
Appreciate
it's been great. Thank you, guys.
Hi guys, I am currently in Edinburgh and I'm not sure where I'm headed to next, but some more interviews are coming. Thanks guys.